Welcome back to Monotone Movie Reviews, where we take an honest look at movies, whether that's blockbuster hits or films you barely heard of. Today, we're going to be talking about Tasmanian Devil from 2020. The filmmakers gave me permission to review this, but what you're getting is my own take. The question is it worth your time? Tasmanian Devil is a frat-based movie, so for those who are into those type of movies, it'd probably be good for you. Also, has a lot of religious themes in it, so if that's your kick, this might be a movie for you. The story revolves around a character named Dio. He's an African immigrant headed to the United States to study in college. His father is already over there in the United States. He's been there since his childhood. So this is like a reunion of sorts. Dio has to balance being a college student and being a church boy for his father. His father is very strict and very, very religious. So you're gonna see there's gonna be a big problem with Dio joining a fraternity called the Tasmanian Devils. Dio is a non-traditional student, so he's already got the credits and he's of age to drink and join the fraternity. Right now, he's pretty sheltered. All he does is go to the library and go home. To me, for any college student to actually be successful, they have to dive into college life, learn new people, have new experiences, and honestly enjoy the duality of being a child and an adult at the same time. Dio gets a taste of college life when he goes to his very first college probate. He sees the Tasmanian Devils for the first time and he's in awe. And I don't blame him because it looks like a really live probate. And I believe seeing this gave Dio another look at what college could be for him. And I think he does deserve to be a real college student. Dio's a straight A student. Kind of perfect when you think about it. As a father, you should be proud that your son is a straight A student and wants to, experience life. But we'll see later that his father is not that receptive to anything Dio wants to do. Luckily for Dio, he met a guy named Ike, a church member who is deep into the fraternity lifestyle. He wants to pledge Taz. He would have pledged last year, but he didn't have the grade. So for Dio, he has an in with somebody who's already been pre-pledging or chucking or whatever they want to call it for the Tasmanian Devil. Dio pulls up to a study session, which is really supposed to be a private session for the guys who want to pledge Taz. So he meets the dean of the next line, which is Whitney, where he tells him about himself and he hits him with he has a 4.0, which in fraternity standpoint, that's a big jump because most chapters need an ace in a hole. So this brings Whitney's attention toward Dio as a potential member of the fraternity. We see Ike and Cassidy at the frat house. They brought burgers and fries for the frat. This is their way of showing the brothers that they're truly interested. This is not to be demeaning or show any malice toward the potential members. As a member of a fraternity, you have to do a lot of things you don't feel like doing. And this is just a way to show that you're willing to do that when you become a member, because it's easy to wear the letters and enjoy the fruits of, the labor of the brothers, but there's actual work that needs to be done to be a member of a fraternity. One of the brothers, Lynn, who's gonna be the biggest hazer in the group, he gives Dio a call and he's surprised by Dio's voice. They want to test his temperature, see if he's really interested in being a member. And when they ask Dio, is he really ready to do this? Dio says, I don't know. Now, that's an interesting answer for somebody who's interested in the fraternity, but Dio wanted to do some more research before he committed. And as a man, you gotta respect that. Dio's father is a perfect example of how your parents can effectively hold you back. See, Dio's dad pursuit in religion and being this pastor has affected Dio's ability to even have a real relationship with his father. I mean, for 10 plus years, Dio doesn't even know his father. Dio's father made a critical mistake. Instead of trying to learn who his son was, allow his son to, learn from his own mistakes or grow within himself, he wants Dio to be a miniature version of himself. And he's not successful enough for us to even want to be like him. I doubt his father had straight A's in college, but I digress. Dio decides to tell Lynn, I'm ready. I'm sure. And I don't think Dio is prepared for what's to come next, because he's about to have to catch up on all the chucking that these other guys have been doing for the last year. As soon as he decides that he's ready, the tasks start coming in fast, and he has a lot to do and a lot of catching up. Also, he needs to get to know the other guys that are pursuing tasks. These guys have learned each other over the last year because this is what they've been doing. They've been prepared for just them four to be online. So this is a major shock to the system. But having a guy with a 4.0 is a game changer for most chapters. If you're a fan of The Chi, the father will look very familiar. That is Ronnie from The Chi. However, I will not try to pronounce his real name because I will not butcher that man's name. But he's an amazing actor, and I disliked him very much in this film. But shout out to the actor with the really hard name to say. Apologize for not saying it, my boy. Dio gets a text from Whitney to let him know to pull up to the apartment that night. When he pulls up to the apartment, it's him and Ike. And they give Dio and Ike a task. They need to make posters for their car wash the next day, which obviously it's already late at night, so this task needs to be done immediately. And for Dio being this first task, it's kind of a shock because it's last minute and it's, urgent. But Ike tells him, we can do it, we'll get it done. And that's important for Dio to have around somebody who's kind of in the mix, who knows how to handle these things, because as a member of fraternity, you never know when a task or obligation will come up, and you have to do it sometimes. So these tasks, even though they seem like, just to mess with the guys, it's training. And they're trying to prepare them for what, life as a Tasmanian Devil will actually be outside of the stepping and, parties. There's actual real work and community service that needs to be done. Some of these tasks are just to mess with them, and that's just the name of the game. It gives you a good story, funny stories to tell later on. Pledging is the most fun you never want to have again. So I know for some people who are not in that world, a lot of it don't make sense, but it's not always supposed to make sense. I mean, life doesn't always make sense, right? We see the other four pledgees on the rooftop, barbecuing, eating, and discussing what's to come. Like I said, these guys have been getting to know each other for at least a year because they've been interested the entire time. So Dio being around is a trigger for some of them because, they feel like they've put in more work than this guy has, and they don't believe it's fair. But the other guys cut for him and say, hey, he's cool. And you really can't control who gets picked. So at least he's trying, because they could just pick somebody up off the streets that they've known that wants to get down and just put them online. So it's not abnormal for people to get put online last minute. The guys pull up to Mayfield's house. Now, Mayfield is played by a person I actually know in real life, Aaron Spivey, who's an amazing actor. He's out of Austin, Texas. He's a member of Alpha Phi Alpha fraternity. I'm a Newt, the best fraternity in the world. I laugh at this role because it's a role that I played at one point in my life. But yeah, this is how it starts sometimes, and these young men have gotten a rude awakening to what pledging is really like. No more silly Taz, straight pledging now. And we can see now one of the hardest, pledgees is in that crying day one. It's funny, but it's not. But also it gives the boys an opportunity to quickly bond because this process they're about to go through is going to be strenuous, time consuming, and it's going to take a lot of money. And the only thing and people they have is each other. We see the fellas about to have their very first night, and scary, and these guys are unprepared. The light-skinned dude, he knew everything and told them they didn't have to learn the stuff that the brothers told them they had to learn, which is a big party foul. So being unprepared and unready, they've had a very hard first night, which is not always typical, but when you don't listen, things can get rougher than they should. But the big thing is Dio has to hide every activity outside of going to school and going to church from his father because his overly religious father doesn't want Dio to actually live a life, which is a weirdo thing. His father left when he was a baby and popped in and out of his life, all through his life. For him to have him come to America and try to run every aspect and every minute of this poor boy's life. Remember, he's 21 already. He's trying to run this kid's entire life without any room or rope to grow. All the time I'm thinking, man, where's Bakari when you need him? So we're back in the church because, half of this movie takes place in the church. And Dio sees his father talking to some woman. And the choir director is like, I always thought that was your mom. So this whole time, his father been cheating on his mom. Obviously, the dude been in America for 20 plus years. I'm pretty sure he been dipping on the side, which is like totally against what I would think a religious man is about, but you never know. Now, I haven't talked about Nicole, who's Dio's love interest. She's a member of the church and the choir director's daughter. She's also in a sorority. I believe it's like the sister sorority to the Tasmanian Devils. And she comes to Dio's house and looks over his bruises, and they begin to make out. And here comes Dio's hating father come in and mess the whole situation up. And his father is offended and mad. And I don't think his father knows that his son is an adult, which is very weird because he's, trying to run this kid's life after missing most of it. I couldn't stand this version of him. The unfortunate thing about Dio, messing around with Nicole is he's not supposed to have any interactions with any women while he's online. He has to completely focus, and they bring Nicole's sorority over for a night to meet the prospects, or the pledgees, I should say. And Dio makes it very obvious that there's something going on between him and Nicole, which results in a very hard night for him and the rest of his LBs. And these young men are not very happy about that, to say the least. We're back at Mayfield's house, and they are seeing visiting chapters, which means chapters from other schools, Tasmanian Devils from other schools, are here to see the pledgees in action. And these nights can be very, very hectic for pledgees. There's some really big dudes in this room, and Dio gets singled out for not knowing a poem that they're all supposed to know. He gets called out for individual achievement, which means he has to endure whatever comes by himself. And he's having a very, very hard time remembering this poem. What we see is his LBs rally around him and help him get through that poem, which from a fraternity standpoint was one of the most beautiful moments in the movie, because seeing them come together and, you know, help him get through that poem in front of everybody, you don't understand how much respect and love you'll get after a night like that. And they did it in front of visiting chapters, so every visiting chapter sees this and will respect and love this line for this night. After a night like this, all you will want to do is go home and go to sleep. Unfortunately for Dio, his overly religious father has found his pledge book, and now he sees that he's pledging a fraternity, but not only a fraternity they call themselves the Tasmanian Devils. So after one of the worst nights that Dio will ever have online, he has to endure a lashing from his own father. Mr. I haven't been in your life for 20 plus years. But I digress. I'm still waiting on Bakari to show up and do what he does best. The fellas are meeting up because they almost done. They ready to finish, and they notice that Dio is secluded away from them. You know, they're taking joy and hanging out with their DP. And he has to let them know that his father knows about him pledging. And they ask, hey, is he gonna tell? And he says, I don't know, I think so. And so at first the decision was for them to, you know, just drop Dio from the line and avoid any of the, you know, backlash that can come from him being online with them, you know, just eliminate him for being online. But the LB that had the most to say about Dio in the beginning was the one to stick up for him and said, hey, it's all or none of us. We started this together. We either gonna finish together, whether that means we quit or we, you know, see it through. And that is the beauty of the pledge process. This dude did not want Dio online, and now he couldn't imagine being a member without Dio. Man, that's heavy. We see Dio's father at the church, and luckily for Dio's father, the church choir director has some sense. And she basically lets him know, like, you're wrong in this situation. Like, you're very wrong. And it forces his father to reflect on, you know, him as a father, which makes him call his mother, and he's crying and basically telling her he messed up without telling her everything. We fast forward to the day that matters the most, the probate. Now, when we see the probate, it's a fake out because you only see 4 people marching in, but you see Dio's father also walking in and seeing the crowd and the music playing, and we see Dio. We see Dio come out as the ace of this line, and his father sees the love, the attention, and the focus on his son. And I think that moment hit him because he kind of missed out on a beautiful thing, and he potentially messed up a relationship he could have with his son, trying to over-father him after missing out on the majority of this young man's life. The question is Tasmanian Devil a movie worth watching? If you are in a frat, sorority, or wanna be, or just wanna see what college life is like a little bit, this could be for you. If you're not interested in that, I mean, just take the review and run with it. But that's my take on Tasmanian Devil. Let me know if you agree or disagree. Let me know if you watched it or not. I hope this review helped you out and, you know, you come back for more. I certainly appreciate it. If you made it this far, I really appreciate you watching my review. Love you.
Go hard or go home. Well, nigga, I'm homeless. Go hard or go home. Damn, my keys broke. Go hard or go home. Well, nigga, I'm homeless. Go hard or go home. Damn. Damn, my keys broke.